Section 8.2, Solving Inequalities Using Addition or Subtraction, Part 3.
All right, so now that we can use the addition property of inequality and we can use the subtraction property of inequality, can you use them in a word problem? So that's Part C, real life application with these two types of properties. So on a train, carry-on bags can weigh no more than 50 pounds. Your bag weighs 24 8/10 pounds. Write and solve an inequality that represents the amount of weight you can add to your bag. So let's give ourselves a verbal model first of what's going on. So we're just going to use the words from our prompt to write a verbal model. So it says we have to figure out how much amount we can add to your bag. So there's some key words there. So I'm going to do the weight of my bag. Now remember, we're starting with words, plus the weight you can add, or since I'm in my, that I can add, is, now I have to use no more than. I can't say is, because that's equation. There's more past the is in inequalities. So is no more than, what did they tell us in the prompt? 50 pounds. So let's look back at this. The weight of my bag plus the weight I can add is no more than 50 pounds. And that's really what's going on. I have my bag. How much more can I bring with me to make that the maximum amount that I could bring on the train? So let's define our variable. What letter do you want to use? You don't always have to use X. So in this case, since we're talking about weight, I'm going to use W. So W is going to stand for is the weight I can add. And I'm just going to finish the sentence, the weight I can add to my bag. So I know anytime I see the weight I can add, that's going to represent the W now. Why? Because I defined it that way. So number 2 is really important, what variable you're going to use, because they didn't tell us in the prompt. Second, translate. Translate your verbal model into a mathematical sentence. So get rid of the words and use the symbols that we have in math that represent. So weight of my bag. I was given that in my prompt. So going back up, it says your bag weighs 24.8 pounds. So when I see this, I'm going to rework that straight into 24.8 pounds. Now, plus, that's already in symbol form, so I have that symbol. Weight I can add. That's the variable I just defined. So that's going to be W is no more than. Wait a second here. So what type of inequality says is no more than? You have to figure out, is 50 the maximum I can bring, or is 50 the minimum I can bring? And no more than means I max out at 50. So that means that this amount has to be less than 50, because that's my maximum. So then the 50 is over here in my translation. But can I actually bring 50 pounds with me? If the train weighed my bag and it was a perfect 50.0, can I take it? Or does it have to be like 49.9? In this case, no more than means I can actually come on with 50 pounds. So I have to put that equal to bar underneath. You're allowed to be equal to 50 pounds or less than that. And that's what that less than or equal to symbol means. So my inequality is 24.8 plus W is less than or equal to 50. So I'm going to rewrite that. I'm going to do it over here just because I have a little bit more space. And I'm going to write it without all the space between the figures. So this case, I have addition between a constant and a variable. So I'm going to use the subtraction property of inequality. So I'm going to subtract 24.8 from both sides. Remember, with decimals, you got to line them up. 24.8 minus 24.8 produces a 0, so I'm left with that single W on the left side, is less than or equal to, and the difference between 50 and 24.8 is 25 and 2/10. So I have 25 and 2/10. So my additional weight I just solved has to be less than or equal to 25.2, because when I add that number to the current weight of my bag, 24.8, I max out at 50 pounds. So this is not a final answer to a prompt. You always, if it starts with a sentence, you end with a sentence. So you can say, the weight I can add to my bag. Now, where did I get back? Well, nice enough. I've already written that sentence. You don't have to think. You're solving for the variable. You've already written the variable in words. So the weight I can add to my bag is, and now you're going to take that boundary point, because that's the maximum you can get, 25 and 2/10, remember unit, pounds. So now you're going to translate in what this simplified inequality actually means according to the prompt, and that is the weight I can add to my bag is 25 and 2/10 of a pound. So you're going to try this one on your own. If your carry-on bag weighs 32 and a half, now mine didn't, mine only weighed 24.8, write and solve an inequality that represents the possible weight that you can add to your bag. So I want you to go through, write the verbal model. It might look very similar to mine, just with a little tweak. Define your variable with the same as mine because you'll be adding it to your bag. Write your inequality and then solve it down to that simplified inequality where the W is isolated, and write your conclusion in sentence form. You're going to practice this using in this case we use the subtraction property of inequality, but you're going to be doing word problems that you'll be using either the addition or the subtraction property of inequality now.